Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Just so excited about this with such a sunny spirit you have going.
I'm going to leave that right at the beginning now.
It's a good thing we're going on vacation.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast. Your podcast help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome to the show all the way down to Florida. How you doing today, Christy?
I'm better than you are, Steve. How are you today?
Trying to get this episode in before I get Alex off to swim practice, and we got to pack, and we are headed to Europe tomorrow.
Woo! Yeah, that is crazy. I give you that. That's a quicker schedule than I have.
It is quick.
And joining us today is my lovely wife, Anna Wake. How you doing this morning, Wake?
Good morning. Good.
Yay. Let me just say, we love Wake. Can we trade Wake for Steve?
Wake is overcommitted in other ways.
I think the listeners would love that in a lot of ways too. So. Well, we're going to talk real quickly today about a couple different things. The first being the passport situation that we found ourselves in.
I know before you go.
Yeah, I know before you go. And we'll kind of do the resolution on that. We're going to touch on some of the things that we're excited to do on our sailings that Christy and I and our families are sailing on the exact same 9-day Greek sailing out of Rome around the Greek islands, which we're pretty excited to do.
Yep.
And it's been 4 years since we've been back to Europe. How about you, Christy?
Okay. My son was 1 and I was in Paris. Was the last time I was in Europe. So
it's been a while.
Been a while. He's just turned 9. So
ours is the Mediterranean.
It was. I forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So excited to go back and do that. Okay, let's jump into it. We found ourselves in a little bit of a conundrum with Anna Wake's passport. Before you start talking, hold on a second.
Wah, wah, wah.
I know.
Yeah. Before you start talking, just a quick thing to do is before you go on a Disney cruise, and there's a lot of information on this, but before you travel, there's a documentation link. So on top of all the COVID stuff that you need to look at the documentation link. And I'm just going to break it down very easily for the most part. Europe and both transatlantics require that your passports be valid for 6 months after sailing has ended. So 6 months after you depart the ship. All the rest of the sailings, all documents must be valid for the entire length of the voyage. So if you're going down to the Bahamas, the Caribbean, or whatever else, you do not have to have that 6 month. You don't have to have that added additional 6
validity
months.
At the end.
Validity of the passport at the end. So that could change on a moment's notice, but always double check that. And what we found out was you had 4 months left on your passport.
Well, what we found was that Disney's requirements don't necessarily match with the State Department requirements. There is certain countries, they can set their own validity lengths, and Europe has 3 months required, but Disney requires 6. So herein lies our issue.
Because there are some countries that require 6, so they just do a whole blanket 6 months on top of it. So, all right, let's talk about it really quickly. You've got a couple different options. One, you can speed up your passport through your local passport center in your towns. Like we have one here in Lake Oswego, and you can also go through FedEx. We're not going to go through all the minutia of that, but that can take up somewhere between 5 to 8 weeks
for expedited. Just regular passport services like 8 to 11 weeks. Expedited is 5 to 7. And then if you really mess up.
So just talk about the process really as far as what you went through. And we don't have to go through all the details, but get the highlights.
So pre-COVID, there used to be lots of third-party expediters that would book up appointments with passport offices and then resell them to people. And the State Department has cracked down on that. And so now if you are under 5 weeks before travel, the only way to get a quick passport renewal is to call the passport or the National Passport Information Center. And you must call, you cannot do it online. And you call no more than 14 days prior to travel, and they will get you an appointment within 5 days of travel. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to get you an appointment at your closest passport office. It means that there could be an appointment in Honolulu or El Paso. So if you have at least 2 weeks, you do need to make sure that you're on the phone at that 14-day mark so that you have a choice.
Like Disney style, like rope drop.
Yes,
the CDC call center, which begins at what time? It was 5 a.m. for you, right?
They are open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, which means that I was up at 5 a.m. on the Tuesday after Labor Day calling. And it took me probably literally 20 tries before I actually got a place in line. I just kept trying and trying and trying. And then once I was in line, I waited on hold for probably 30, 40 minutes ish. But the guy was super helpful. I actually had a choice of appointments, days. So it was, once I got through, it was pretty smooth. They give you a confirmation code that they ask for when you show up, just to make sure that you are the person who made the appointment. They also ask for you, they want an airline record locator. They check to make sure that you are in fact traveling within 14 days.
Did you have to previously show that you had booked that airline ticket a long time ago? Or could you book the airline ticket and then call the passport office and try to get a passport?
You can book the ticket and...
Okay.
Yeah. So
I may have a cousin that needs to do this. Well, so she's like, I might just book a trip.
I will say that being in the airline industry and because of the last couple of years of COVID, so we work with a lot of people who we've been trapped at home and a lot of people who aren't normally trapped at home, right? So I have several flight attendant friends who have been in the same situation and have just booked airline industry tickets so that they could get their passport earlier than the travel they actually had planned, if that makes sense.
So you got Seattle. How did it work? You drove up there?
I drove up there. It felt like a little bit of organized chaos. It was a line outside, and then they let you into a line inside. Go up to the window, turn in your or they check your papers, and that you have your application filled out. You check all the boxes.
When you go to the passport office, do you have to have your picture, or do they take it there?
No, you have to have all of your stuff. I mean, there was a man who kept wandering through the line and saying, have everything filled out, have everything signed, have all your papers in order, not in your bag. Like they want to move you, right? Because there was probably in the morning group, there were people who were there for just regular passport renewal also. Mm-hmm. And then there was those of us that were doing the urgent stuff. So the first step is they check your confirmation, you turn in your stuff, you get a number, you sit and wait, and then you turn it all in and you pay. And then they tell you can go away and come back in a couple of hours, and you come back in a couple of hours, you wait again, and then they give you your passport. It was kind of amazing that it was, once we got there, once I had the appointment and got up there, it was much smoother than I anticipated.
Do you pay extra to get?
Yeah. Yes, you do.
As you should.
Yeah. And you have the passport center manager coming at the end when everyone's standing around waiting for that return, reminding everyone that they should be patient and kind because we are all only there because we messed up.
That's hilarious.
It was very clear that we are here to help you. Be nice to us. And everyone was like, oh, okay.
So how long do you think that day was for you?
Well, the other thing is too, my appointment was at 12:30. I got there at 11 and they told me to just go up. So it says on your confirmation, don't arrive more than 15 minutes early. Don't arrive more than 15 minutes late. They kind of tell you that they want you in the window, but I would make an appointment. Like in my case, if you're driving, my advice would be to make the appointment as late as possible, but then get there as early as possible so that you don't miss the appointment, but you
that makes sense.
Get in line sooner. Yeah. It didn't really matter.
And I guess the other caveat is if you get there early and you're like the first appointment, once you come back to get your passport, you're not necessarily the first to get your passport.
Right. Because there were people they batch them. They just throw them in the computer in batches. And I think that they they put the harder ones in first, because if they have any questions, then they can get the questions answered and then still have time. Because there were people in line behind me that definitely left ahead of me. I was one of the last people. And I think I was one of the only ones with an actual, I had my passport, I had a renewal, mine was pretty simple. And I was towards the end but yeah, I mean, it was fine. I got it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you get to go on this cruise.
Yes, exactly.
So it worked out. I had all the information uploaded into Disney's website and we were cleared within a day to get everything done. So that was kind of a sigh of relief as far as getting over to Europe. So you can go to travel.state.gov to find the passport information. And if you want the number, if anybody's in the same situation or just has passport questions, it's the same number that you call to make the appointment. The number is 1-877-487-2778. So if anybody finds themselves in that same situation. Christy, did you have a quick story about it also before we turn to Europe?
Oh yeah. There were some travel agents talking a couple of days after Wake had gone to get her passport, who also had a client with a new, like, didn't realize was expired and supposed to be leaving for his vow renewal in Mexico. And they called to get an appointment and there was not one in the entire country.
Right.
So obviously they didn't have the 14-day window with which to work with. So just, yeah. Double check. Let's all pause the podcast, run and double check your expiration dates.
Right.
Then you can come back and listen to the rest of us.
And we always recommend to bring a passport no matter what cruise you go on. If you have it, there's a lot of situations you can find yourself in where you may need it. However, I'm not going to get into the minutiae on this. You can travel to the Caribbean, the Bahamas without a passport. You need other types
via cruise ship.
Via cruise ship. So you go once again, go to the link before you go on Disney's website, documentation, and it'll give you all the information there. Okay, let's turn to our plans for this trip to Europe.
Now that we're really going.
Yeah, now that we're really going. Christy, what are your guys' plans before you get on the ship?
So we are arriving on Friday and we are doing basically a walkabout in Rome. So we get in early. I actually have a friend that I've met through the blogging community and she is coming. She lives in a little bit north. She's coming down to spend the day with us and give us a little walking tour. Very excited about that. So we're going to eat all the food, do all the walking, try to stay awake so we can go to sleep that night and, acclimate ourselves. So that's no like formalized plans, but those are our plans.
And then you picked a later port arrival time the next day. Why?
I did not feel the need for a 9-night cruise to arrive first. I didn't feel the need to get there when everybody was very excited to get there for the testing because we still will have to test at the port. And I want to eat another meal in Rome, like Rome, yummy, amazing food. And I want more of that. Not to discount the Disney food. It'll be very good, but we'll have plenty of days of Disney food.
I think that's a good, I think that's a good plan there for a lot of people. When you're spending all that money to go over to Europe, why not take advantage of spending time in the city? And, and to your point, the one time when we went to Norway, we were the last bus that got there and there was like nobody there in line and we were on the ship in no time.
Right.
And so to your point also, 9 days on the ship, although we're going to be off it quite a bit at all the different ports, it's not quite the same as like when you're on that 3-day or 4-day out of Port Canaveral, when you want to be able to be on it for every moment, at least for us. There are some people that will want to be on it for every moment, but that's kind of our thoughts.
Like the Wish cruise that we have coming up, we will try to get an early port arrival time and we'll work to get there early, right? But
So we're heading out a little bit earlier. We're going to spend some time in Germany, Austria. We're stopping in Venice, and then we're going to get into Rome the day before. We're going back to a restaurant that we really enjoyed last time we were there, and then heading down to the port. I think we do have an early arrival, but we're not going to get there as early either. Yeah. So let's talk real quick about numbers over in Europe right now. We've got, we're tweeting with a good friend of the show, Jen, who was over there. She pointed out on Twitter that they have about 1,200 people on their sailing right now, and talking to cast members, somewhere between 200 to 300 people are going to, or that number will increase by 200 to 300 as the sailings go through the summer, and then probably watch it to drop off at the end of the summer. Like they always have a sailing around England and Scotland and Ireland and stuff like that, and that always has kind of low numbers on it. So as far as what the numbers look like, that's the best that we can tell right now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing too from some travel agents that are on board.
So I'm kind of excited to have one more cruise, I guess, where it's not completely packed.
Yes, same.
So this cruise is a 9-day cruise that leaves out of Civitavecchia, Italy, which is the port at Rome. We have a day at sea. Then it goes to Dubrovnik, Croatia, Kefalonia, Greece, Hania, Greece, Athens, Santorini, Greece. Another day at sea. Finishes up at Naples, and then back to Civitavecchia. So let's just start with Dubrovnik. What do you guys have planned in Dubrovnik, Christy?
Well, I want to start with the day at sea, which is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. I'm having a massage.
Yay. I need to remember that it's your birthday. I need to write that down somewhere. You'll remind me, right? Remind me that it's your birthday.
We'll remind. The kids will remind me
me
for sure.
Okay, good. Yes. Oh, and that's Father's Day. So they get to have that. I actually, when I arrive in Rome, it is our anniversary that Friday.
Nice.
So we are definitely celebrating our anniversary during this cruise. We are doing nothing in Dubrovnik, though, to answer that question.
Have you been there?
I have.
Okay. So any plan? Are you going to get off the ship at all then, or?
Yeah, we'll probably get off the ship. We're going to kind of see. There's a lot of heavy port days coming up after Dubrovnik that I want to have more energy for. My son will peter out. He will not have the stamina to go day after day after day after day. So as of right now, I could change my mind and do something maybe easy because it's beautiful there. The sea is beautiful. Yeah. So maybe I can find something to do that's not part of a city tour or something. But as of right now, we are doing nothing and we'll probably walk around. The last time I was there, we ate in like this little cafe right off of the ship and got Wi-Fi and just had a lovely time. Might do something like that or go into the Old Town area.
Let's give a point there with these port intensive cruises. It's good to have at least one day off besides the sea days that are maybe not quite as planned as you might want, because to your point, I remember
it's a working cruise.
Yeah, I was losing my voice by day 7.
Were you screaming? What? Why?
Just not sleeping.
Not sleeping very well. I don't know if it was like excitement, but I was like up early every morning and at the gym, and then we go the whole day and up after dinner because we had the late dinner and everything like that, going and doing things too. So it can wear you out. So definitely plan that. We did
a Baltic cruise with 2 other couples in 2017, and one couple has mostly done just Caribbean cruises where they're beach days, right? And about halfway through, my friend's husband was like, yeah, I'm going to just stay here and watch a movie today. Yeah. He's like, I can't, you guys are too intense. So
that night in Dubrovnik is the night we have our Palo dinner reservation. We picked that because we don't get into the port the next day until a little bit later in the morning. So it wasn't going to be an early start. There is still the potential of some land to sail away from, to see from Palo. So those were sort of the thought processes for picking Palo that night.
So, okay, I've got a thought on that. Well, I'll just jump into it. So one of the things that people have mentioned is Santorini is one of the great parts about being in Santorini is watching the sunset.
It's a thing.
And so what we've heard is a lot of the cruise ships will stay there in port until the sun sets before they sail out, just so that people can experience it on board. So that might be a good night also to book a Palo dinner in the future if somebody's sailing on one of these.
Yeah.
So Dubrovnik, we are going to go kayaking because we like to do adventurous things.
I always want to go kayaking.
Good for you. I'm glad that there is a port adventure for people like you out there.
We got a 4-hour kayak booked that's going to go around the Old Town. And then we're hoping to, after that gets done, well, it's not 4 hours of kayaking, that you stop and have a snack and everything like that and enjoy the scenery and stuff. But we're hopefully going to wander around the Old Town. Dubrovnik's a very easy, small Old Town area to wander around, taking the sights. There's actually a cable car that'll take you up to the top, which is where you get some great views of the city as well. So pretty easy city to navigate and really enjoy for people that are going there in the future. So from there, we move on to Kefalonia, Greece. And what do you have planned there, Christy? I know you're still kind of working on this one.
Well, Kefalonia, our cruise had to change a little bit somewhere in the middle. So we had the same tour you have, but then when I had to cancel and rebook. And when I went to do that, we lost the best of Kefalonia. So we are now doing, but you have to do caves. So caves are what Kefalonia is known for. So we are doing a cave tour still. And now apparently we're going to a monastery. And I believe that Anthony Hatch, friend of the show and from Magical Wonderlust Adventures, I think he and his husband are coming on that tour with us as well.
So we booked that one that you originally had to, the best of Kefalonia, where we go to the caves, you go to the monastery, and then I think you stop at a small town as well to have lunch and just kind of.
I feel like there's some more water in there too that I'm not remembering.
Yeah. I think there's more than one cave. I feel like in your tour, I could be wrong.
Yeah, that could be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then we definitely have lunch and then kind of bill it as, experience Greece.
Yeah, I'm curious. I need to look at the fine print of ours because it's from 10:45 to 3:30. So I hope they're feeding us.
I can't imagine. Yeah, they have to, I think.
Something?
Even if it doesn't say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look or bring something like for my kid to eat.
Right. Yeah.
How do you eat lunch at 10 a.m.?
So
these are the adventures of traveling to Europe, things to consider.
So from Kefalonia, we move over to Hania, which actually Anaway spent some time there.
So I went on exchange to Greece in high school, and I stayed with a family in a little town called Castelli, which is just west of Hania. So Hania was the big town that we didn't go to all the time, but a couple of times. So one of the things that we planned to do when I was on exchange was hiking in the gorges on Crete is kind of a thing too, that the tourists come to do. And I got food poisoning when I was on exchange. So I didn't get to go when we had planned to go. So that is what we were doing on our port excursion, is going to hike and then see a little town and maybe go to the beach. I'm going to check that box.
Well, yeah, that's good. You should. This is another one where we don't have anything planned. So we may still add something. There was a beach day.
And that's it. I know where that is. That's west. It's in between Hania and Castelli, the town where I was. And it's a really, really pretty beach.
Oh, so, that's good to know. So maybe it's expensive for beach day, in my opinion.
I think it maybe includes lunch, that beach thing or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at that before. It was still available. I am going to look at Project Expeditions, which is a private company, just one more time. I guess I need to get on this, right? And just make sure there's not a private excursion, something that they offer that I might want to do. But I do feel like I need to be out on the water or at the beach. I would like to do that one day. So maybe this is a good day to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good day to kind of, after the, busy day in Kefalonia, have a relaxing beach day the next day, because after that we go to Athens, which is definitely going to be a busy day, right?
For sure.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about what you guys have planned?
Why don't you talk about yours first?
Okay. So we've been to Athens before with our friends. It was the very first cruise we did and hit a lot of the highlights. We got off and just got a taxi, and that worked out awesome. We hired a taxi for the day, and he ended up being a great driver, took us to all these different spots. The one thing that we didn't want to do, which most of the Disney port excursions have, if you're going to book with Disney, is we didn't want to go to the museum. We went to the museum last time, and it's amazing if you like Greek history, if you're a historian. I mean, the artifacts that they have there are pretty incredible.
It is amazing.
But we didn't really want to spend another hour and a half to 2 hours with the kids.
And I have, that would be my fourth trip there. I don't need to. Yeah. I love museums, but I don't need to see it again.
Not 4 times.
Yes. So we weren't looking to go to the museum. So what we booked was we found a historic Athens sightseeing in which they take you by the famous stadium where they had the Olympics. They hit a couple other different sites. There's a university there with some famous libraries that they kind of drive you by. So it's just a drive by. You're not going to stop and see it. The only other thing that we saw, which was kind of neat, is they have a changing of the guard ceremony, which it was cool to go.
It is cool
to go and see, kind of to get that sense of history and how the Greeks portray that. But we didn't really think that was what we wanted to do. Our main focus was we want to go to the Acropolis, and then we want to go down to the Plaka, which is like a shopping area. It's the old market. Wander around there, look at the shops, and then get some Greek food. So that's how we wanted to spend our day. And that's what this one does. We drive by and see some things. We get a couple hours with a tour guide, it sounds like, at the Acropolis to kind of give us some history. And then
again, I've been to the Acropolis multiple times, but never with an actual guide. So I kind of wanted somebody to tell me what I was looking at.
Yeah. And then we'll have a couple hours in the Plaka to get some food, wander around, look at the shops, and kind of just take in the feeling of Athens. So that's what we've got planned.
That's so cool. So this is our first time in any Greek, this whole cruise, any Greek island and location. So we're trying to take it all in. So we have booked Essential Athens with the Acropolis and the new Acropolis Museum. And we don't love going in museums either. So we just have to decide, are we going to keep this? I know I only have, a few more days to make those decisions. Or do I want to move to something that can bypass that? Or then there's one with a lunch, and that one only really costs $20 more a person. So maybe we just get that one that has lunch. Then that way we could just sit there longer. My issue being gluten-free, medically gluten-free too, so not by choice, is that it does come into question, can I eat the lunch? Which is usually the reason that I don't book some of the excursions with lunch, because how's that going to work? But so I don't know, maybe I can call Disney and find out. Really quick, the flaw with Disney versus every other cruise line is the other cruise lines have a specific port adventure number. and a port adventure even email, places that you can contact somebody and say, hey, can a person with an allergy eat at this restaurant or eat at this tour? Or how is it going to work? And instead, you have to call the general Disney line and then wait and get somebody who books Disney cruises, which is lovely, but not somebody who knows about the adventures either.
Right.
Fix that, Disney.
The other thing I will say about Disney too, if you're thinking about sailing with another cruise line, which I highly recommend if you're going to Europe besides Disney, even though we're a Disney podcast, a friend of mine's over there right now on a Royal Caribbean, and their port stays they get there at 8 and they leave at like 8 or 10 o'clock at night, where Disney is traditionally leaving at 5. So if you want more time in these places, especially if you have older kids, that might be a time to consider a different cruise line, in all honesty.
No, for real. And like there's a company, Azamara, which is, they just sort of got reowned. There's still some stuff that's Royal Caribbean Group from them. They do a lot of overnights in Europe at a lot of ports. And so cool. They have a little bit smaller ships. So that might be a cruise line to consider too, if you're looking for a real, a nice cruise experience with even more time in these ports.
From there, we go on to Santorini. It's the last Greek island stop that we have. To your point, Christy, about being on the water, that was the one thing that we haven't really done yet. And so we were kind of going back and forth. We want to see the classic city of Ia, which is when you see the Greek pictures, it's that blue domed, white walled city that overlooks the Mediterranean. So what we decided to do is we are actually going to do a sailing where we sail around one of the islands on a catamaran. You get to swim for about 30 minutes. And then you come back and get some views of the city of Ia. But what we like about this is the cheapest one by far compared to the others. It brings you back to Fira. So Santorini, you have to tender. Fira is the place where you will although there are some different port excursions where you go to different.
There's two different ports.
Tender to a different port, but most of them come out of Fira. And Fira is kind of another small Greek little town there where we're going to hopefully catch the bus. It's a 10-minute bus ride up to Ia, which is OIA. That's how you say it. And so we're going to maybe hopefully jump on the bus, go up there, take some pictures and come back.
Yes.
And then head back to the ship.
Yes.
We should communicate because our port excursion ends there as well. We are doing the ancient, how do you say all these words? Akrotiri.
I think it's Akatori.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. And I apologize for my lack of Greek knowledge. We end there as well. And maybe you can teach us and make us take the bus with you.
My best friend's children were just there. And they said the bus is super easy. Sunset in Ia is a thing. And they were the ones that told us that the cruise ships kind of tend to hang out in the port or in the caldera and wait for the sun to set. So we can.
I feel like cruise ships tend to do that. And yet somehow I don't feel like Disney is going to do that.
Well, it's like the Hawaii one. Most of the cruise ships go up along the Nepali coast, and the Wonder didn't do that either, which is kind of an iconic sailing when you're on the island of Kauai. Well, kind of moving forward, our last stop is in Naples. We've been to Naples before, and I'm kind of excited about this. Christy came up with a plan, what they were going to do, and we had some different ideas, but I think we're going to tag along with you. What are we going to do, Christy? Hopefully.
So we are going to get off. And here's one thing we're not going to do. We are not going to have to worry about how to get testing before returning to the United States, because that is the day before we returned. And that was going to be the day we were going to have to, is that the day before? It's the day before. Yeah. That was going to be the day we were going to have to figure out how to test. Very excited that I don't have to try because we fly out right after the cruise. So I don't have to try to figure out how to test before coming back to the United States. So this is brand new breaking news that we don't have to test anymore, traveling from a foreign country to the United States. But we are going to get off the ship. We are going to go to the subway, which there was Catherine, I believe is her name, that works for Disney Cruise Line, was just on the Magic. She just got off and took that subway and said, it is very authentic. Just so be prepared. But we are going to take the subway to Herculaneum, which is the stop for the ruins location. Herculaneum before Pompeii. Herculaneum is a smaller Pompeii, basically. So these were towns that the Italians have preserved that got basically wiped out from when Mount Vesuvius erupted, and just like the lava preserved everything underneath it because it was so hot. So, the people broke away the lava and all these ancient towns are there. It is amazing. We've been there before. I cannot wait to take Blake. I cannot wait to take you guys to this location. It's just small and easy to navigate. And then after, we are going to eat yummy, yummy, yummy pizza.
Yay. Sounds like a perfect day. Yeah, from when we went to Pompeii, talking to the guides, they said Herculaneum. So you can book a port excursion that takes you to Herculaneum with Disney Cruise Line, but we heard basically that one is less busy, as you said. It's a lot smaller. So I'm excited to go see that as well. Well, to finish up, then we head back to Civitavecchia, back in Rome. How do you guys get home, or what are your plans?
We are taking actually Disney transportation back to the airport and have a very early flight because Delta keeps moving it. Oh, no. So we have like a 12:15 flight. So it'll just be a little stressful. I'm just so happy the whole testing element, we don't have to worry about anymore. And we fly back and it'll be a very long day because we connect through New York where, again, Delta changed everything. And so we sit in New York for all of our life and then we fly back.
I haven't added it yet, but I think we're going to do the same thing. I think I'm going to call Disney and add the transportation just to get to the airport. We are actually just staying at a hotel near the airport for another day. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. It's super easy to get into Rome from the airport. It's called the Michelangelo line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was like Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those.
I think it's Wakes.
Yeah,
Wakes Italian.
So anyways, it's like 30 or 40 minutes to get into the city. We may go back in there or we just may hang out. Yeah. After 9 days and plus days before that. So that's kind of what we have planned. We head back the day afterwards on British through London. So hopefully that's going to work. So
excellent.
Yeah. Well, that is kind of our plans. Thanks for everybody for joining us and listening to this. We're glad that we got the passport thing figured out. If you were in the same situation, don't panic. Well, don't panic because you're going to panic. but yeah. But it's good to know that the system works. You just got to be on it. And like Christy said, rope drop it.
Yes, for sure.
Any final thoughts before we get out here, Chrissy?
No, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you guys next week. We just have one more little tiny hurdle where we all have to pass our pre-cruising tests.
Right.
Hopefully we have no issues with that. And we have ourselves an amazing 9 nights. Yay. 9 nights. 9. Not even.
Say that one more time, Christy.
9 nights.
All right. For everybody who follows us, make sure you follow us along on Facebook and Instagram. We will have one more Derry, a good friend of the show, Derry. We're going to have her episode out on Tuesday. And then after that, we won't have an official episode out until after we get back. And we'll talk about this. We'll talk about your and Chris's sailing with the Wish coming up, which we're super excited. Lots of pictures as she is now on her way on the transatlantic, an official part of the fleet now with Disney Cruise Line. So excited to bring that to you guys as well. But follow us along on Instagram. I'm not sure I'm as good as going live on that, but we'll definitely go live a couple times on Facebook to kind of keep you in the loop on what's going on with our trip.
And you have better internet than I do over there. So we'll probably use your phone to do more of the posting. I'll just steal it from you and do the posting as I need to.
Definitely. You feel free to steal my phone whenever you want.
Well, we can put Andrew on it.
Yeah.
We got a teenager.
Perfect.
All right, everybody, as we get out of here, thanks for coming back to take a listen, and we'll see you soon on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. I hope this look back on how we handled our passport issue helps others who may find themselves in the same situation. Don't stress. Well, obviously, we're all kind of going to stress about it a little bit, but there are avenues to get it completed before you leave on your next trip. But be forewarned and just do a little bit better job than we did this time. Check out all your documentation and make sure it's up to date and ready for your next vacation. If you're not following us on Facebook, you can go over to facebook.com/DCL podcast, also over to instagram.com/DCL_podcast. And we'll do the best to put up a lot of photos and videos and hopefully go live a couple times as well as Christy and her family and our family are over in Europe over the next couple weeks. Well, if you've been enjoying this podcast and know others who would enjoy it as well, we sure would hope you would pass it along to them. That helps us get a little bit better known in the Disney cruising, the Disney podcasting, and just the cruising podcasting community as well. And if you have time to go over and leave us an iTunes review, that really helps us get the word out. Also, we want to thank each and every one of you who've taken the time to do that. As always, we'd like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. They help bring this show to you each week ad-free. You can go over to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. Well, between now and our next show, if you are heading out on your next Disney cruise, Adventures by Disney vacation, headed out to the parks, or just dreaming about where your next vacation is going to take you, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.